Hello from Jonathan and from me. Welcome to the programme.
First, they may have a new leader, but can he inspire a new dawn for the Labour Party here in the East? Ed
Miliband would seem to have a tough task ahead after his party virtually suffered a virtual wipeout in the Anglia region.
Well, before the election, Labour had 17 seats in our region. In May, the party lost all but two of them, Luton North and Luton South.
In a moment, we'll be hearing from our political correspondent, Matthew Hudson, who's at the Labour conference in Manchester. But first, Neil Bradford has been talking to lifelong Labour supporters and a few Tories about what they think the new leadership. Neil's report contains some flash photography.
I know we have to change. Today's election turns the page because a new generation has stepped forward.
If he's to reverse the party's election fortunes, Ed Miliband needs to reconnect with ordinary voters, nowhere more so than in the marginal seats of East Anglia, like Northampton. In 1997, it had 2 Labour MPs. Now it has none. At Northampton and District Indoor Bowling Association, just like the rest of town, political views here are divided. It is early days, but it seems none have been bowled over yet.
He's very young and he's comparatively inexperienced, but I'm sure he will eventually become a credible leader, I'm sure. But not my form of politics, I'm afraid.
I'm not Labour, I'll never vote Labour, so he'll never get my support, but I think he comes over as a very honest man.
I've always been very interested in politics, always followed it, but and I've always voted apart from this last election. I'm just fed up with a lot of them.
Mum of 3 and John Roy from Northampton has been a Labour supporter for 20 years, 8 of them spent as a party member. Andy Burnham was her first choice for leader, but thinks Ed Miliband will connect with voters.
He wouldn't be my first preference candidate, but certainly the kind of things that he's picked up over the course of the campaign trail has certainly made it easier for him to get to that number 1 top slot, number 10.
The region's only remaining Labour MPs agree.
Ed is exactly the right person. He's a unifying figure, very warm, intelligent, youthful. I think he'll be very good.
Ed Miliband needs to do 2 or 3 things. He needs to accept that we get it, that we lost and we lost badly, and there's a reason why we did that. He needs to listen to the voters of the South.
Tony Clark was Labour MP for Northampton South between 1997 until 2005. After losing his seat, he was expelled from the party for breaking their rules. He describes himself as a working-class lad done good, but even Red Ed is not enough to get him reapplying for his membership.
Ed Miliband won't get me running back to Labour. The only thing that all the parties can do is to start realising that people on the streets want their politics changing and want it to mean something to them in their communities. Until they do that, none of the main parties have got the answer.
Ed Miliband may have the public support of his older brother, David, but it's only the support of the public that will take him and his party to number 10. And nowhere is that support more crucial than here in the East. Neil Bradford, Anglia News, Northampton.
Well, a short while ago, we spoke to our political correspondent, Matthew Hudson, who's been at the party conference in Manchester.
I began by asking him how Ed Miliband's appointment as leader was going down with the party faithful.
It's interesting, Jonathan. On camera, everything in the garden is rosy, but off camera, there are concerns. I mean, for instance, there are a number of MPs who supported David Miliband I've spoken to. They're furious that their man didn't get the job, and even supporters of Ed Miliband are saying now it's time for him to prove himself. One MP said, you know, forget the Red Ed tag, he'll be able to deal with that. What you people are going to be asking him, that's us, the media, is he up to the job? And that's a fair enough question. Of course, most new leaders are relatively untested. The disadvantage that Ed Miliband has is that he didn't have the majority support of his own shadow cabinet, of the parliamentary party, or indeed of the local parties. So where does this leave Labour and its future? Well, a little while ago, I was privileged to talk to 2 former big beasts of the Labour Party in our region from the last generation, and this was their take on things.
It's not the electorate's fault we lost the election, it's our fault, and we have to face up to some hard truths around that. But at the bottom, what must never change are our values, our commitment to equality, our commitment to fairness. I think that's what people want to hear from us, with a bit of humility that we got some things wrong.
The absolutely central thing is to address coherent policies on the issues of concern to people in our region. That's mainly the economy, but it's also the quality of public services, it's particular parts of the economy like building transport infrastructure. We have to absolutely show that we understand those things with credible policies which connect with people's problems.
Matt, what do you think that Ed Miliband has to do to win us over?
Well, the feeling is he has to hit the ground running with a cracking conference speech tomorrow if he's to begin the process of winning back disaffected Labour voters. He wants to start looking to win back constituencies like Waveney and Stevenage and Northampton, which of course they lost. We talked to grassroots activists, they talk about listening more. One lady said to me, we spent so much time telling the public what they thought, we forgot to listen to what they actually said they thought. Food for thought, perhaps.
OK, Matt, thanks very much. The family of a soldier killed in a house fire on Saturday have described him as their little hero. Private Kenny Pratt had joined 1st Battalion, the Royal Anglian Regiment, 18 months ago and was due to go to Afghanistan in 2012. Firefighters were called to his house on Chestnut Avenue in Clacton at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. Investigators found the fire started in the kitchen and there was no working smoke alarm in the house.
Now, more than 4,000 troops from our region are